Hello, everybody. It is a couple minutes to 2. We're going to start very shortly. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. And of course, it's John here. I have with me today Jason. You there?
I am. You told me to mute myself, so I had to
I know.
scramble and reach for the button.
I just wanted to make you unmute yourself. We also have Isa.
I'm here.
All right. And I'm the only one using my webcam because apparently I'm the only one that got a haircut. COVID problem, so such is life. But I will say, while we wait for the others to join, my work attire has went through a series of changes. So in the beginning of COVID, I would wear like exactly what I wore to the office. So I'd have a dress shirt, dress pants when I had a meeting, like that style. And then like a few months into COVID, I would drop the dress pants. So I'd be wearing like shorts, but a suit on the top. And now I'm in like the third stage of COVID where I'm wearing a t-shirt. So, such is life. I don't know if anybody else can relate. Jason,
Let's just hope it doesn't progress any further than that, please.
Yeah, I don't know if it could. So,
it scares me to think of how it could go. But
yeah, no kidding. We have a few people joining up here, so bear with everybody, and we'll get started in a couple minutes. Jason, I feel like you got to share your webcam just because you haven't got a haircut in 4 months. I feel like that's just
all you'd see is hair. Yeah,
wow.
it would just
Wow.
be. Have you seen the sheepdog?
Yeah.
Picture that.
I got a mental picture now. So this is a good topic. I'm eager to do it. It's one that we've got quite a bit of requests on.
It's a complicated one, and it's one of the more elegant features of GP. So a lot of people don't use it. A lot of people know it's there,
Right.
And have looked at it over the years, but have never actually started to implement it. So hopefully we drive some value for people today.
Yeah, for sure. We'll give maybe one more minute because I see a few last people joining, and then we're going to get rolling. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see my screen.
I do. I still see your head over top of it.
See that? Yeah, so I always say that I originally didn't think that my Toronto Maple Leafs jersey would be a good or a bad thing, but now that I've done quite a few video sessions, I've realized that there's not a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf fans. So I think I'm going to have to put something else back there because it's hindering my positive conversations. If you hate Toronto Maple Leafs, it's instantly a done deal. So such is life. But yeah, let's get started. So thank you everybody for joining. I really appreciate your time today. I know there's lots of crazy stuff going on in the world, and appreciate you guys making time for this. I think it's going to be a session that you're going to get a lot of value out of. It's one of those topics that's pretty niche. Many people actually don't even know that GP has a project accounting feature. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. Now today we have with me, for those of you who just recently joined, I have Jason, who is a very familiar voice. And I have Yiza, and Yiza, I think this is your first webinar, am I wrong?
That is correct.
Wow. So this webinar is going to set your whole webinar career, would you agree with that?
Yeah, very looking forward.
And you'll also notice that today's featured special guest is me. Yes, I created the PowerPoint, so I guess that kind of ruins that, but hey, we're gonna move on. So a couple of things I want to do here before we get started is I'm going to throw a poll up, and I want to find out two things. So first of all, this is just a reminder, and apologies for those of you who join every one of these, and I keep asking you, which version of GP you're on, but I just like to keep a good sort of finger on where everybody's falling. So you should see a poll. If you have no idea, select no idea, no worries. Currently, GP's supported version is anything above GP 2016 and up. So try and stay current. I think next April, GP 2016 is end of life. So make sure you upgrade before that. And one more poll, which is specific to today. So please answer this one if you can. I'm interested to know what you guys are looking to do with project accounting. So option A, are you looking at using it to track internal costs, so just kind of for your own knowledge, or are you maybe looking to track the costs, track the time, which you will then bill to a customer, such as like a professional services firm or a law firm, or something like that? Wow. So, okay, we got a little bit of, so most of you are using it to track internal costs, but there's a few of you that are also using it to track costs, which you'll then bill to a customer. So Yiza, keep that in mind when you're doing your awesome demo.
Sure.
Okay, so before we get started, I can't hear you guys. So if we lose you and you have a question, write the question in the question box and we will come to it either right away or we'll come to it at the end. So we're not ignoring you. We're gonna get to them for sure. And yeah, feel free to ask anything. It can be cost related, it can be functionality related. And if we lose you, please write something so that we can stop and catch you up. So a bit about us, we're based out of Toronto, Canada. We have been completely obsessed with GP for a very long time. We have our own hosting platform and product, which is GP365. So if you're looking to move GP to the cloud, you'll definitely want to give that a look so that you don't have to deal with GP upgrades anymore. And I see a few of our customers on here. So big hello and thank you to all of you guys. And yeah, so GP is the only Microsoft Dynamics product that we do. We're laser focused on just making your GP experience better. We work with GP partners all over the map. So if you really like your current support partner but would like to move to GP365, that's a-okay. And yeah, we're happy to help. And ultimately, if you would like a demo or would like to find out more, shoot me a note and I'm happy to discuss. But with that, I'm going to hand it over, I think, to Jason.
Yeah, this is me.
All right, this is
right.
the equivalent of you hyping Yves up before she goes on stage.
Now, just a reminder, John, you're still on video unless you're going to turn it off. So don't start drifting off to sleep or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So maybe I'll turn my webcam off and go get a coffee.
Maybe that would be for the best.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
You're very distracting. All right. All right. So today we're going to be talking about project accounting and GP. So in a sort of summary level, you can use project accounting to either track internal project costs for your own sort of budgeting purposes and reporting purposes, or you can also use it if you're like a professional services company that does project-based work and needs to bill your clients. So the way it works is it requires extended pack for you to have access to the module. So there's only two versions of GP now. There's what they call the starter pack and the extended pack. The starter pack you will not see this module enabled. If you don't see it and don't jump to the conclusion that you don't have it just because you don't see it, it may also not be enabled. So you may have the extended pack, but it might not be enabled in the system setup. But if you don't have it, you can transition from a starter pack to the extended pack. That's not a problem. So you don't need to feel like you're trapped. And really what we want to do with project accounting is extend it out to sort of the end users that are going to put timesheets into the system and employee expenses and things like that. So that can be done with a special license. It's called a self-service license. They're very cheap. You can also use a limited license, which is a little bit more expensive. And the difference is the self-service license only allows the user to get in and record timesheets and expenses, whereas the limited user will allow them to do that and do reporting. So they can do anything. They can read any of the data in GP. They just can't write anything except for the employee expense and timesheet modules. Those licenses are very inexpensive compared to the full users. If you're on perpetual licensing, they're concurrent. So you only need as many licenses. You can have as many named users as you want and only as many licensed as you need to log in. And if you're on a subscription license, then it is named. The module is extremely comprehensive in terms of integration. It integrates pretty much with everything in GP. So it integrates with purchase order processing and inventory control for some of the project costing with respect to materials. It integrates with payables, particularly for employee expenses. integrates with payroll, so that's going to be for the timesheets and things like that. Receivables management, if you're using the billing system. And it also integrates with the general ledger module. Now, at the GL level, the type of posting that you can do is absolutely mind-boggling. The module is designed in a way that it pretty much can accommodate any scenario when it comes to general ledger recognition. So you can create really complicated scenarios when you're posting to the GL if you want to. You can also simplify it, but it is quite a deep topic. We're not going to be going through that today. Today we're going to focus more on, given the current circumstances, we're going to focus more on sort of cost control. A lot of people are interested in this module now because, maybe there's government programs that you want to take advantage of that will require you to, keep track of costs related to a project, something in Canada like the SRED program. I know there's quite a few in the US as well. So this is what we're going to focus on today, is more internal cost control. We will have another webinar in the future where we'll go over the billing side, and then probably another one after that to talk about some of the GL integration options. The system does support multiple project types. We can have a fixed price project, time and material, cost to cost, and it also has different revenue recognition methods if you're using it for billing. One thing to point out that's really important is it's not a project management tool. So this isn't intended to sort of keep projects on track and manage tasks and deliverables and things like that. It's just the accounting side of it. So it couples really well with Microsoft Project, for example, but the two are independent of each other. They're not actually the same thing. If you want to get fancy and you have access to Integration Manager or Smart Connect, you can export stuff from Microsoft Project and import them as timesheets. So there are ways that we can create those integrations, but out of the box, they're two separate products, and this one is not intended to keep project management. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to you, Isa, so you can start sort of going through the functionality.
Okay, thank you, Jason. That's a very nice project accounting overview. I know everyone will be probably very excited to see the real case demo, but before that, let me quickly go through two key elements of project accounting, and then more like a warm-up, and then we'll move to the real case demo. So let's start with the cost categories. So cost category is definitely one of the key elements in project accounting in GP. So we assign cost categories to budget for project estimation, and then we use them to track our project status. For example, if your project is over or under the budget, right? So GP uses transaction types to differentiate the cost categories. You can create as many as cost categories you want. Just when you create it, GP will ask you to select, okay, which transaction types this new categories is associated to. So on the screen, you will see 6 transaction types or 6 type of cost categories. We'll quickly go through each of them, and we'll see how companies usually use them to in the project. All right, so let's start with the first one, which is timesheets. Timesheet can be used to capture employee hours that they spend on project. If you only care about the total hours spent on a specific project, you may just need one timesheet category, just simply tracking it. But we often see companies are more interested in the breakdown of the hours they spend on different project tasks. For example, if you want to figure out, okay, the total management time versus the support time in the project, then you could consider have a multiple timesheet cost categories created. Or another use case will be you could use different timesheet cost categories to track your salaried employees' hours versus the subcontractors' hours. So the timesheet transactions entered for your salary-based employees is integrated to your payroll modules. In that case, when transactions are posted, they'll be posted to your payroll contract account. On the other hand, if you're using this to track your subcontractors' project hours, then the timesheet transaction can be set it up to post those transactions to your project expense accounts. So timesheet is definitely a big topic in project accounting. we'll talk a little bit more in the next slide. But before that, let's quickly, oh, sorry, John, quickly scan through the remaining cost categories. I promise it's going to be really quick.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to pull you off the stage.
No, no worry. Yeah. So next one is expenses. So expenses can be used to capture any project-related expenses, such as travel or accommodation, right? That's just a simple example. So the expense transactions is integrated to your payable side where you can make the payments to your vendors. Next one is inventory. So inventory can be used to track your inventory costs on the project. That's very self-explained. Next one is purchase and the materials. This one is integrated to the POP, the purchase order processing module, where you can enter your PO for the project, receive the invoices from a vendor, and issue payments to your vendors. Miscellaneous logs is a very interesting one, personally, I think. Basically, you can use to track any type of cost that doesn't follow under the other cost categories buckets. One good example I always use is you can use it to track, for example, late payment fees for your overdue invoices. I know most company doesn't want to see that, but sometimes when it happens, and then if you do care a lot about your how much you paid on your late payments fee for a better control, then you can use miscellaneous logs to track them. The final one is the equipment logs. This one is being used to track how equipment is being used for a project. Then you can bill your customers for using those equipments. Okay, so now let's move to the next slide, which is timesheets. As I promised, we'll talk a little bit more about timesheet transactions before we move into the real case demo. So just to recap, we can use timesheet to track how many hours your employees spend on specific projects. So there are two types of timesheet entries you can enter in GP. One is called standard, and the other one is called referenced. So standards is very straightforward. You can use it to enter a new timesheet entries, and the referenced you can use it to pull out the previous timesheet entry and make correction. And in real case demo, we'll quickly show you these two different types. And in terms of the posting transactions, oh, sorry, John.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking, trying to recap what I'm going to talk next. So
we have to stop letting salespeople be in charge of the demo slides.
No, I think if I had too much coffee, I'm all jacked on the next button. Sorry.
Okay. No, all right. Let's take a look at the screenshot I made on this slide. So when you're entering a timesheet entries, you will see that for sure your project number is required and the cost category is required. In the case that only the timesheet the cost category assigned to this project is available for a selection. So in terms of the transactions that needs to be posted to your GL accounts, Jason also mentioned earlier is a very complex setup, but in today's example, we'll see that these distributions will be dependent on the type of the projects and its accounting method you set it up. I'll give you a quick example before we move to the case. So if your project is time and material and your accounting method is when performed, you will notice the billings will be posted to your accrued P&L accounts, and your timesheet transactions will be posted to your payroll contract account. And again, in this case, in today's demo, we're only talking about your salary-based employees. Or if you set your internal project as a time and material, but accounting method is when only billed, you will notice that the billing part will be posted to work in progress as the project is still waiting for you to really build the projects, right? Same thing, you will notice that timesheet entries for your employee project hours will be posted to your contract account. You may notice the key difference here when you have different projects type or accounting method is how the billing or the revenue will be recognized. Again, we will now be focusing on that part. And then as Jason mentioned, that's a big topic as well. Today, we'll just purely focus on how we're tracking your employee timesheet costs. Okay, So let's move to the next slide. Okay, so this is a quick few key points about the today's demo project. So we have set up an internal system upgrade project in our demo environment. It is a software implementation because we know maybe some of you are currently in the process of any system upgrade or software upgrade. So we set this project type as time and materials and accounting method as when performed. For sure, these project is non-billable just because this is our internal project. And the project period is very short, only 2 months. And we have two cost categories created for this internal project. One, we call it upgrade time. This one simply just for tracking my employees' hour for assisting or working on this project. The other one is consulting. It's a purchase and materials cost category. This one is being used to track the cost that from my service provider. All right. Okay, now let's move to the most accepted part of the live case demo.
All right, so I'm gonna make you presenter.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. All right.
Okay, so I'm just going to bring up my GP demo environment. Just let me know if you can see my GP on my screen. Either Jason or John can let me know.
I don't see it yet.
No, I'm not seeing it yet.
Maybe try and click the button. Yeah,
Oh,
there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Right. Guess I didn't click it carefully. All right. So I'm pretty sure most of you are very familiar with GP already, and this is the project module in GP. By the way, this is our demo environment on GP365. So from the project module, if we want to take a look at our today's demo project, you go to cars and their project. You can pick which project you want to take a look. So I already pre-selected the demo project I created. So I called it the GP upgrade project, and then the project type is time and material, and the accounting method is when performed. I already opened this project. So you will see the status has already been changed from estimate to opened. All right, so because this is my internal project, it's non-billable, you won't see any billing to date in these views, and some cost to date because I already posted some cost transactions. Let's take a quick look at of the budget because this is the most important part. So in the budget, as we mentioned earlier, for this project, we have two cost categories. One is the upgrade time, and this one is the TS, which stands for timesheet. And then we see the unit cost is $200. This is my hourly rate for my salary-based employee. And I assume they're going to spend 20 hours on this project. The next one is consulting. This is the one that your service provider provides you. You can refer to the statement of work of their hourly rate and also the total hours they need to spend on this project. Again, this one is a purchase and materials. And I'm just putting, for simple calculation, I put $100 per hour and for 200 hours for the entire project. Okay, so that's add up to $25,500 for my total budget. You may see a minor difference between my baseline and the forecast total. That's just because I made some changes after I opened my project. To see that in details, let's close our budget window. Let's take a look at the forecast window. So your baseline is the initial budget you entered for your project, and then at the beginning, this is my initial budget. And then you can make changes before you open the project. But once your project's opened, it doesn't mean you cannot make changes. You can still make changes. Those changes will be reflected in this forecast column area. And again, actual is actually showing you how much transactions you already post to this project. Okay. So I'm going to close this one. That's I'm not going to talk into like these icons in details, but a quick reminder is just remember to assign your employee to this project. Then later we can see that we can enter a timesheet for these employees. Okay, so I'm going to minimize my project. Let's take a quick look of how we are going to enter our timesheet entries. So here, there are two you will see here. On the top is time and expense, that's PTE. In today's example, we don't have PTE enabled, so we'll only see the timesheet entry transactions. So a side note before I dig into the details of entering the timesheet entries, I think I overlook that part from my previous timesheet discussion is, as Jason mentioned, that because most companies have limited GP license and then or limited access for employee to enter their timesheet, so you can have a PTE or project timesheet and expense enabled that will allow them to submit a timesheet and expense through the application, and then once that reports got approved, that transactions will be automatically transferred to GP to project accounting and ready for posting. All right, and also on a side note, GP365 also have the portal also have our own PTE app. It's a web application, and then you can it's directly integrated to this project accounting module as well. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you today just to simply enter a timesheet entry. And by clicking on that, this window pops up. Again, so under the transaction type, there are two types. One is a standard, one is referenced. You will notice the difference is when you have reference selected, this reference doc number field is available. From there, you can pick which the previous time entry you entered you want to correct or adjust it. But that's switch back to standard. And you will see that one, that field is being grayed out because this is going to be my new timesheet entry. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly tab to these. And in today's example, I'm just going to enter a time for my employee. Adam. Okay, that's a little slow. Okay, now I'm just going to skip these. I'll put for this comment as GP upgrade. Nope, typo, sorry about that. Okay, so the date is default to, and this is our demo example, so don't worry about that, the years. So in the project numbers, I'm going to pick our GP upgrade project. And for cost category, because there's only one, which is our upgrade time, so I will pick this one. Don't worry about the time begin and time end. This one will be populated when you are using the PDE application. So for this entry, I'll say today he worked for 3 hours on this project. So I'm just going to put 3 in the quantity as the 3 hours, and billable type is not billable. And if we hit the tab, we will see that the total cost is reflecting $750 because my employee's hourly rate is $250. So that's $750 in total. Because it's non-billable, that's why the total accrued revenues is 0. Okay, if this is a billable project, then you will see that the total accrued revenue will be reflected here as well. Okay, let's take a quick look at the distribution. So because this project is the time and the material and the accounting method is when performed, you will see that my timesheet cost is crediting my contract account and debiting my project expense account. Okay, so if this one looks all good, all we need to do is just simply click on post. And I'm just going to pick this one. All right. I'm not going to show the reports in details. We'll just let everyone take a quick look. So basically, these are just the standard posting journals that for your reference, and we won't talk into details, and this is just the distribution. We already take a look. So I'm just going to close all of them. Okay. So that's for how you track your employees' timesheet cost. The other categories, if you still remember, we created for this internal project is the purchase of material for tracking the cost from our service provider. Okay, so that one is integrated to the POP in your purchasing module. So if we now switch to the purchasing module in GP, enter transaction, we can enter a PO transactions for my service provider. I already assume that I've received that invoice from them already. So, but let's open this purchase order entry, and I'll just quickly enter a PO. And for today, my vendor, I'll use ADAM as my service provider. Okay. So in the project number column, you can select your project as that will be our GP upgrade project. And same thing, cost categories, that you will only see that the purchase and material cost category. In this case, you will see consulting, well, I name it 02. Okay, so this is the 9 inventory items. I'm going to name it analysis and design. So that phase was done already, and then we're already being billed for 10 hours. Okay, you will see this will automatically pick it up the hourly rate from our project setup, the budget setup. It's $100 per hour, and then times the 10 hours. So on this invoice, we have to pay our vendor for $1,000. Okay. So I'm going to quickly do receive and invoice the PO items. Just going to receive it. Okay. And I'm just going to post the transaction. Oh, sorry, forgot the invoice number. So this will be my invoice number 3. Okay. So I'm just not going to go through the journal details. So you see the hours is 10 hours and the unit cost is $100 per hour, and that's make a total of $1,000. Right. Okay, so now you're ready to pay your vendor on that invoice. I'm not going to go through that detail because I'm pretty sure most of you are very familiar with the purchasing module already. So that's a very simple or quick demo of how you can use project accounting to track your internal project for different type of the cost categories. Okay, so I still have one slide for reporting part, but I'm not going to switch back and forth. I'll just
So
simply show everyone.
I'll switch it back here quickly. Or do you want me to? Are you going to show more stuff, Isa?
No, that's just concludes the demo
Yeah,
part, but I do want to stay in GP and give everyone a little bit taste of how the reports look like.
sounds good.
Okay, right. Thank you, John. So in terms of the reports, let's start with the first one, the inquiry. So inquiry do have some reports that I think is really useful. So under project inquiry, let's take a look at our project inquiry first. I'm just going to pick my GP upgrade project. You will see this is an overview view of a specific project, and it listed the 2 type of the cost category I created, and the columns including what is the estimate your budget, and then what is the total cost include. So I already entered posted some transactions already, so that's why you're seeing each of them have some transactions. Because this is a non-billable, so that's why we don't have a revenue part earned reflected here. All right, so if you click on the print icon on the screen, it will brings up a very nice report. This is a very standard report for project. So basically, these columns tells you that, well, I think it's reflecting exactly the same column you see on the project window. Okay, I'm just going to drag to this side a little bit and see your gross profit and loss or bill to date, and then what is your total recognized revenue, and then what is your estimate cost to complete. Okay, this is very standard one. Okay, but this report only print for the specific one projects. If you are interested to know, okay, several projects under a specific contract, you can bring up the contract window under the inquiry and then listed out these contracts. For today's example, we are only, oh, that's quite a lot. Let me see which one. This is the one I created. So under this contract, I only have one project, the GP upgrade project, but you can create as many projects as you want for this specific project. So that's why you're pretty much seeing the same numbers reflected on my project screen. And again, you can also click on the print from this window to bring up some contract reports. Not going to show you that today, so I'm just going to cross this one. That's one quick key way to see your project status and all your project numbers. And GP does have lots of out-of-box reports. So we all know for each module, there is a report box here. So a common one or a popular one would, for example, we can take a look at this performance report. Let's see what is available there. If you click into performance, and in today's sample, I will choose my projects in progress because my GP upgrade project is still open, it's not completed yet. So I have a demo option created, and I'll quickly show you how it looks like. Currently, I'm only curious to see my GP upgrade project. But again, if you have several internal projects, feel free to insert your own parameters here. And then after that, just click on print. That will bring you another popular reports, and this one provides a little more details compared to the inquiry report. So I'll quickly drag to the other side. All right, so a little more. Most of them are useful to when you're tracking your projects. Like for example, this columns and these columns. All right, and not only that, depending on parameters, you can you not just printing one projects. If you have several projects you'd like to see on the same reports, you can do that too. Okay, so that's just the out-of-box reports that the GP provides. The next available view or reports I think is really helpful, and personally really like to go there a lot, is the Smart List. So if you go to Smart List, you will see a big section of product accounting. When you expand it, you will see lots of reports available. It covers the elements from billing, or list out the contracts, all the cost categories, projects, and even your timesheet historical transactions or your timesheet transactions. So a quick tip here is, unlike the other transactions, for example, your financial transactions, that transaction post for the close year, they will be showing up under the historical transactions. And for the open year, it shows under the transaction here, timesheet historical transactions, just for those that's being posted. And then here, list out the some transaction that was not posted. Okay. So you see I have 2 transactions posted already, and then from there with some columns including my employee ID, the reporting period, some comments, and what is the total hours and the total cost, right? Okay, so the advantage of using SmartList is first, you can use columns to filter or add additional field if you'd like to know about this. And also, you can easily export them to Excel file, and then you can play around the data in Excel. Okay, The only thing you may notice is that these elements are, being break down into details. If you do want to see a joined field of, for my billings and the cost, or my billings or my timesheet entries, a smart list can be customized. In the past, we do have a blogs talking about how you can customize your smart list report using either smart list designer or using a smart list builder. A quick reminder, you will notice that all the project accounting transactions are listed in your functional currency. If you do have transactions in multi-currency, and then that can be for sure, then that your smartest smartest reports needs to be customized. I think we also have blogs posted in the past and talking about you can add multi-currency information to your smart list reports. Okay, I think all these, the last type of the reports available will be all these smart list reports are available in your SSRS if you do have SSRS reports deployed. So it's your preference. Either you can check the smartest reports here or from the SSRS window. I think that pretty much concludes our today's real case demo, and I will pass this back to John.
Nice. Let me steal the screen share. I got some questions here, and one of them Jason's gonna hate to answer, so this will be a good one. Let me just take it back here.
John, I don't hate anything about GP, you know that.
That's true. Anything you want to cover on this slide, Yiza or Jason?
I think we covered
Yeah,
all of
I think so
them.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so a couple things before we get into questions. Our upcoming events. So we have a couple events coming up, and one that is incredibly popular is the 5 GP add-ons that you didn't know you needed. So this is going to be aimed at products that you may not have heard of before that will make your life a whole lot easier. So definitely tune into that. Now, keyword add-on, which means they aren't free. So there is going to be some form of cost for them, and we'll make sure that we point that out. We may even try and work with all 5 to try and get discounts in place for at least some of them, so that if you guys decide to buy within a reasonable time frame after the webinar, you can get some type of discount. So leave that in Sabrina's court. Sabrina, you're on the phone, so keep that in mind. And we also have a Key to Act demo coming up. Jason, do you want to talk a bit about Key to Act, or I don't know if...
Yeah, well, that's going to be co-hosted, I believe, with the Key to Act folks, right? So
It is, yeah.
It's a very comprehensive product aimed at sort of, very specific verticals in industries, primarily around, construction and building management, things like that. So it's going to be an interesting one. I'm actually excited for it. And I think anybody that's in those industries probably has already heard of Key to Act. And this would be a great time to come and find out what their product can do.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, check out Key to Act's website, and I'm happy to tell you more about them offline, and see if that one is of interest. But it is super specific. So if you're not within the verticals Jason mentioned there, it likely won't be of any use to you. It's just one of those niche topics. So yeah. Now, last thing before we get into questions is number one, thank you everybody for joining. If you guys have ideas for topics, please send them to me. Not that we're running out of ideas, but I would love to know what you guys want to see, whether it be management reporter or something else. Like, what can we show that is going to bring value to you guys? And you can even write it as a question now if it's easy for you. And Sabrina will make sure that we get that topic on the radar for a future event. And of course, you can like us on social media. We post all sorts of cool stuff there. We do blogs every week and other cool things. So check us out. And let's go to questions. I am going to start with a super loaded question, Jason, that I know you're going to love answering, which is, this all looks good, but how much will it cost to implement? So Jason, take it away.
It's always, so normally in GP, with most modules, I can answer that question. With project accounting, it's such a large module that it really depends on how you're going to be using it. Let me try answering the question this way. I think you could look at it starting at around $5,000 in labor. Again, I'm not talking about the license. If you have a starter pack and you need extended pack, that depends on how many users you have. But in terms of just the labor cost to implement, I think you'd be looking at a starting cost of around 5,000. Now that's going to assume that you're going to do some DIY, and the engagement would be primarily, helping with the basic configuration and doing a lot of training. What drives the cost up is, first of all, how much of the module you're rolling out. So if you're doing billings and you need invoices to be customized, and then you need customized reports, those are the types of things that will drive up the cost of the implementation. So I think, to be fair, 5,000 is probably a reasonable starting number, and it's going to go up from there depending on what kind of things you need to have built.
Cool. Next question is, let me read it here. How can users access or enter timesheets?
Okay, so natively in GP, we have the concept of PTE, which is Project Time and Expense module. Again, as I kind of mentioned earlier, that is the employee self-service module that people will have access to if you give them that inexpensive license. Now, what we usually see are people access that through the web client. It can be accessed through the full client, but then of course, unless you have a terminal server or something like that, you need to install GP on everybody's desktops, and it can be quite the nightmare for the IT people to manage. So what we typically see are people will install the web client and then publish that. It's a website, right, which allows people to go to GP and enter their time. Now, just to be honest, it's not the greatest experience for the end users. GP is a bit clunky when you're just using it for that one purpose, because they still see the full interface. You can't access anything else, but it's kind of clunky, and you have to do some training to make sure people know how to get where they need to go. Some other ways I've seen that are slick and actually sort of bypass some of those licensing issues. It is available in Integration Manager and in Smart Connect, so you can have people enter them, in Microsoft Project or in some other app that you can export to Excel and then import into GP as timesheets or employee expenses. Both can be imported. And then, of course, now I'm going to do the plug. We're building a product called Time Center and Expense Center for GP365 that will allow users to enter their time in an app on iOS or Android and on Windows devices as well. And if, as an example, if it's an expense entry, they'll be able to take a picture of the receipt and it will attach it to the entry. So, we are going for a more slick, modern experience when it comes to that integration. And the transactions will appear automatically inside of GP. The integration is very tight. So that product is coming out at the end of Q3 this year. So look for that. If that's something that would be of interest to you, just let us know and we'll make sure you get to sort of take a look at it when it's in alpha.
Cool. I got one more here from Judy. Oh, hey, Judy. So this question, this is a tricky one too. I'll give a stab at maybe the first part, and Jason, you can save me if I butcher this, but how well does GP365 integrate with Dynamics 365? So let me back up a little bit, and some of you may know this, but GP365 is not to be confused with Dynamics 365. So Dynamics 365 is, of course, Microsoft's sort of new product that has a suite of products, including CRM products. It also has a product by the name of Dynamics 365 Business Central, and another one by the name of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. So Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is the one I'm assuming that the question is geared towards, and GP do have some integration points, and GP365 fully supports all of them, to your question. Right now, a lot of our customers are not moving to Business Central just because of maybe lack of functionality, or they don't want to move away from something that works well. But there is a variety of integration points, and Judy, I'm happy to maybe send you more or talk to you offline about that, because it's a pretty big question, and I don't mean to dodge it. Jason, I don't know if you have anything more to add about the data that can be brought in or anything like that.
No, one thing I could mention, there is a very loose integration between GP. I think it came out in 2018 R2. So they call it Business Central Insights. So you can leverage some of the reporting capabilities of Business Central with a GP inside of Dynamics 365. But really, they're two completely different and separate products. And one of the reasons we see a lot of people sort of hedging on moving over there is it's basically a re-implementation of your entire ERP. So it's going to come with a pretty hefty price tag in terms of retraining and redeveloping all of your business processes. Kind of like when you first rolled out GP, you're going to go through that again if you move to Business Central. Getting the data over to it isn't necessarily too difficult, but it's like going from QuickBooks to NetSuite. It's a completely different product. On the sales side, just to reiterate, we do integrate fully with Dynamics 365 for sales. So that's already in place and already works. So customers will sync and you can sync orders and invoices and all that sort of thing. We use Smart Connect for that purpose.
Exactly. Any other questions here? And just a note, we've started doing a bunch of giveaways and even giveaways sometimes for, through webinars through our social channels. So go check those out. And thank you for anybody who likes stuff that we post. Appreciate that. I think that's about it. So with that, thank you everybody for joining. We have another event next month. And let us know if you have any questions. If you want, to get a quote or anything for anything you saw today, let us know. We're happy to do that. Yeah, we'll talk to everybody soon.